And there we are, Charles. Welcome.
Great to see you again, Jason.
On Wednesday, it's Sunday with Charles. I love it.
We got to mix it up.
Now, what did you think about the presidential press conference that we just heard?
Well, I think that the president is to be commended for his extremely high level of energy. That was a long trip. I've never traveled and don't hope to travel the way he travels, but here's a 70-year-old gentleman, I think almost 71, go up bouncing around with all these high-level meetings, meeting some people he'd never met before, some very contentious meetings, putting together deal after deal after deal in different countries. I mean, that's a tough thing to do, even if you are traveling in the comfort of, the way he was traveling. The jet lag is rough on you. He doesn't sleep that much, apparently.
He eats McDonald's all the time, which is, I don't know, I couldn't be that lively if I was eating that.
But seriously, I mean, it's nice to see a team and a president who understands elementary business, I mean, really complex business, understands, how to correct the excesses, not simply of the past 8 years, but I would argue the past 16 years, maybe even 24 years, maybe even longer than that. Here's a guy who gets disruption. Here's a guy who sees the inherent strengths of the United States, sees how to play to our strengths, sees how to understands our weaknesses, is working to try to correct our weaknesses, is dragging the swamp along with him, fighting the swamp at home, and seems to be, by all accounts, enormously popular in regions of the world. And it's nice to see that. And we could talk about people who've dedicated their lives to public service. I mean, here's a guy who is working. He's getting some guff because foreign people can maybe stay in properties that he owns. But beyond that, he's agreed to give all those revenues back to the Treasury supposedly, and he's not taking a salary. He's cutting.
Wait, what is that you're talking about? For foreign people staying in his properties?
Remember, there was a whole issue that there's a question, the emoluments clause of the Constitution, where apparently you're not allowed, if you're a member of the executive branch, I think, might be all branches, to take any compensation from foreign governments. And so the concern was that somehow his family still owns all these properties in the United States in particular, including the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C., how to deal with that. The solution that was crafted was that any monies paid by such governments into these properties would be, I think, remitted back to the Treasury. So there's no,
That's amazing.
Yeah, and he's also sacrificing, forget his opportunity cost. He's not even taking the salary, that he's donating that all to charity.
Presidential salary.
The presidential salary, whatever that is, a mere pittance for him, but I think it's
but that's nice that he's doing that.
Yeah, and here's a guy who, if he wanted to, and some probably close to him would say, listen, Mr. President, you own a few golf courses and you're actually pretty good at it. I think if he's not a scratch golfer, he's like a 1 or 2 handicap golfer. Unlike the former president, who was, I'm a terrible golfer, but I could just see the guy swing. He was hopeless.
Obama was not good at golf?
Golfer, yeah. Huh. You could tell just by the way he was swinging. And
I thought he was good. He's playing all the time.
No, yeah, right. You would think he'd be good with all that playing, but he's not so good. Whereas Trump is a phenomenal golfer.
Well, he owns 1 billion golf courses.
Well, yeah, but owning and being, golf is, I'm a decent tennis player, and the challenge of hitting a tennis ball coming at you at 100 miles an hour, spinning and this and that, if you can do that, you would think that little white ball that's stationary, that you could actually take this big club that you could actually hit at a mile, but it's very tough stuff.
Yeah. Well, Charles, but what about, I certainly expected him to say something about Saudi Arabia, something about draining the swamp. What is going on over there?
I don't know. There's this golden opportunity here that we've been discussing. Today is tick-tock to midnight tonight. Not only, we've laid a little bit of a trap, or I shouldn't say a little bit of a trap, a massive trap.
Who has laid that trap?
You have. It's all your fault.
I thought you laid it.
No, you did.
Okay.
You didn't even, that's the beauty of this plan. You didn't even know about it. No. With this program here, we've been trying to educate people about the various laws that do bite and can bite once the IRS decides to enforce existing regulations, once the Department of Justice decides to enforce existing laws the way they're supposed to be enforced fairly, tonight, and in here we'll see whether they filed. I suspect they haven't filed yet.
We'll search around.
Yeah, if you could, on that site actually, if you just get rid of the files AR section of the thing,
Okay.
you should get to the landing page, and we can see whether they filed. It'll be up. Yeah.
But it wouldn't be
Yeah.
there.
If you just Google Clinton Foundation annual,
Annual? Okay.
we'll get to it, or that.
I was going to juxtapose that lovely picture of Bill Clinton with you seated right there and put it up. We're gonna do that.
I thought we were checking to see whether they filed, but
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Clinton Foundation
Annual.
Annual.
Yeah, and
Let's
we'll.
see what it gets. I'm sure they didn't do anything, Charles. They
have to file. It's not, there's not an option. There you go. Annual reports, financials, and tax exempt materials.
Okay, hang on.
And now sometimes there's a delay between their filing and they're putting the information up on their website. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But as a matter of, law, they don't have the option of filing beyond tonight at midnight. It's a final, the so-called final countdown.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. Oh, I forgot to play our lovely theme song. See, I was so caught up in watching President Trump up until right before we came on that I forgot to play that. We'll play it on the way out.
All right.
So, okay.
So looking here, they have not filed. You'll see the annual report of is a glossy thing. They haven't yet put up on their site audited financial statements and IRS Form 990s for 2016. They haven't done it yet. Now, that doesn't mean, we could check actually and see whether they've done it on New York State.
How do we do that?
We would put into Google NYS altogether, Charity Bureau search. And then that's your main landing page, top link.
Now, of course, I've searched this Charity Bureau registry before in obtaining evidence of fraud.
Right, you're a man. So EIN, if we punch into that one, 31, and then if we punch in 1580204 and hit search, we'll see whether it's hit the New York State site. Now, New York State generally has a delay.
Yeah, but also they still could file it by midnight, right? And
Well, they have. The way it works is that you have, under Arkansas law, they have a certain requirement, but because they've been soliciting and operating here in New York City, they've had to file. They've filed false and materially misleading statements for years. But if you click on that Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation link, you can see whether they've actually filed.
I don't know if that's a link. Oh, yeah,
It is. It is indeed. And this site is actually pretty good. We'll go down a little bit. You'll see there's a whole lot of stuff, and it does not. No, they haven't filed in New York State yet. You'd see it. This section, annual filing for charitable organizations. There's annual filing for December 31st, 2015 is the most recent one. They did file on June 27th, 2017. You'll see that bylaws, organizational rules. You see that?
Yeah.
We could click on that for fun, to torture them a little bit, and look at that document. Okay. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I just came from a lunch with some wonderful old and new friends of mine, old friends from high school, from Horseman School, and I'm not going to say your names, gentlemen, but thanks for lunch. It was a very interesting discussion. One of the people I was meeting with is one of America's top criminal defense attorneys. And let me tell you, these people are switched on. And it confirmed my view, there's no question that this is a fraud. The question is, why has this fraud been allowed to last for so long?
Right.
And I think the answer is that high-tax states like New York and California and Illinois and other states like that tend to be controlled by people who don't want to be embarrassed by exposing this fraud insofar as it affects Barack Obama, not doing anything about it, the Clintons perpetrating it, and the Bush is getting, enmeshed in it. So what I can tell you, and again, I'm not practicing law, but I can tell you that you cannot fundamentally alter the structure of a nonprofit corporation that has obtained federal tax exemption by changing its bylaws in the way the Clinton Foundation did. This is an example of something that was hidden during the presidential campaign, that was only filed recently. It is the amended and restated bylaws of the Clinton Foundation. And if you go down the page a little bit, I think it's just a little bit into it, the directors. It says there's different directors, and then we go down a little bit further. You serve for a term of 1 year. Then here, number. Well, there we go.
Oops, sorry.
It goes into number of directors, not less than 3, no more than 20. And then it says the board of directors shall be divided into 2 classes, Class A and Class B. All right? The Class A directors shall be William J. Clinton and Chelsea V. Clinton. The remaining members of the board of directors shall be Class B directors. Okay? Whoever advised the Clinton Foundation to make this change at the time that it was made, which I believe was, from memory, September 10th, 2015. We'll check in a second to see if my memory's any good. But whoever gave that advice should be barred from practicing law. That firm should be severely punished if it was a firm, and because they did not do the inquiry that's required to check and see what this public charity was supposed to do. They didn't check, for example, this handy-dandy operating lease, which you were so kind to print out at considerable expense, I might add. That was entered into this joint use, operating, and transfer agreement between the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation and the National Archives and Records Administration regarding the William J. Clinton Presidential Library. This document was signed on November 18th, 2004, and requires, among other things, the Clinton Foundation to always be a public charity, which means that public charity can't be controlled by a family. And that this document attempts to turn, basic control, fundamental control of the Clinton family rests in the hands of William J. Clinton and his daughter Chelsea V. Clinton. And it's just an indefensible move.
But Charles, isn't it possible that you're being generous to say that how could the law firm not know about it? Maybe they knew and they deliberately perpetrated this fraud.
Well, it could be. It could be that there were a bunch of calculating lawyers who, see the world through a political prism and said, we're going to do this, and the reason we're going to do this is we're going to roll it. I'm not a gambler, but we're going to bet the entire house, our children's fortunes, our family and our friends and all
freedom,
everything, on the Clintons. And if we win bigly. And if we lose, we all die anyway, so who cares? It could be that's the way they looked at it. But this, on the face of it, has to be exposed. Donald Trump, and even I'm beginning to have my grave doubts about Mr. Sessions. Even Mr. Sessions and the others, you got to look at this, and this is elementary. I mean, this document, I would ask the various major donors to the Clinton campaign in 2015 and 16, how many of you were told about this before you wrote your check for $300?
Don't you see this contract? If you're giving them millions, I mean, I'd imagine.
I don't know. I think they hid this. This is New York law. The way it's on the books, and maybe the reality is you put the laws on the books and they're not enforced at all. But New York law says that if there's a material change in the constitution of a charity that's registered in New York, and this charity has been registered in New York illegally, without disclosing its problems, since 1998. If you change and make a material change, you were required under New York law strictly to, on a timely basis, explain on this website here the change. Now we look at the date. What is the date at the bottom here? My memory, I'm getting old, so the memory
bottom of this PDF?
Yeah, very bottom. It'll have the date and signatures and stuff. I think it was, from memory, September 10th. It's pretty lengthy. It goes to like 20 sections or something. It was received, you see, now the next page up from this, you'll see a signature. Keep going.
AB data.
Fundraising. And these are the directors. Okay. These are the executive people. Keep going. And then next, there we go. That's, all right, did I say the 10th day of September 2015? And now that signature, that Bruce R. Lindsay signature, I think is a forgery. It
Why?
does not at all fit. If you remember the memorandum of understanding signature, we could compare that. His signature in the memorandum of understanding on multiple other documents is different, radically different than this signature. Now, Mr. Lindsay did have, I believe, a stroke in 2011. So it is possible that his signature changed after that. It certainly is possible. But to me, this signature does not look like I'm not an expert on that, but it just doesn't. It's too different than the many other examples. We might, if we can find that MOU easily, which we can get via Google quickly.
Yeah, how do I locate that? I actually just gave away one of our, I hit the wrong button, Charles, and I revealed our felony counter graphic.
Oh, good. We'll get to that.
Okay, so what should I be Googling to find that?
If you Google Judicial Watch MOU Clinton, you should get to it pretty quickly. I don't know if we can keep this up on the page or if we can minimize it maybe.
We'll figure out a way to do that.
So people, on the crowdsourcers, take a look at this and maybe we'll do a Twitter poll. Do we think this is an authentic thing? But the important thing is, in New York State, a key electoral college state, a key fundraising state, this material change in the Constitution of the Clinton Foundation was not disclosed until June 27th, 2017. Okay? Well after.
What caused it to be disclosed then?
I think it was your fault.
Oh.
It could have.
Had I even met you then?
Yeah, that's when we were down in the.
That was our first, one of our first meetings.
It came up back then.
December 2nd, 2008, is that the memorandum of understanding?
It sure is.
Okay, so we found that quite quickly.
Yeah, that Google.
So let's go to the end of it, where the signature will be.
You got that on a different screen or something?
I'm just going to get to the exact part you're interested in.
So the thing that's in material here is that the version that's still up on the main screen here, this is what was amended on the 10th day of September 2015, but what they leave out is that they actually amended the Articles of Incorporation on the 2nd of November 2013 to make the 3 Class A directors. There you go. Now, does that look the same to you, Bruce R. Lindsay? Not in the slightest.
But it looks like if he had a stroke, maybe this one is after the stroke. It's similar. Well,
but in most of his other signatures, that circle with the dot in it, we don't want to discuss what that looks like, is a feature of many of his signatures, just like that.
You're right. This also just looks like a version of it. Oh, sorry. It just looks like a version of it that somebody might be copying.
Yeah. It does to me. It looks like, how do we try to imitate it? And a handwriting expert can say, is that a left-handed person or a right-handed person signing that?
No, it looks much different. You're right.
Yeah. And, there are people out there who are handwriting experts who can say, we can show other examples of this thing. The merger agreement, for example, is one in the 2005 filing.
How should I locate that?
Well, if we go, I don't know, let me have a think about that one.
Merger agreement?
That, I believe, we can find that in ProPublica 2005 filing for the Clinton Foundation, has it as an exhibit.
So go to the advanced search for ProPublica?
And use that 311580204 number. But this is an example, while you're looking, this is an example of what you do not do. You do not, send in a document across state lines from Arkansas, most likely, into New York State, telling part of the truth, omitting very material facts, that on the 2nd of November 2013, as the Clinton Foundation was under fire following an article in the New York Times that criticized the sloppy finances and governance. You change the governance structure. You try to change the governance structure to create 2 classes of directors. The Clinton family is Class A. They really should be Class Z. And all others, the new ones that are brought in, are supposedly independent, except the new ones, the Class B directors, really have no effective authority, and they're not therefore independent.
Forgive me, Charles. I forgot the part after 3-1.
311580204.
Okay. So we'll bring this up and see what's going on.
And that's a long filing at the end of which, in the 2005 year you want.
2005?
Yeah, at the end of it, this merger agreement, and Bruce signs that as well.
Well, this is on the Form 990?
It's an attachment at the very end.
Okay. We'll open that there.
They also amended in that year the bylaws. I think his signature features several places there, and it looks more like this one on the left than this one on the right.
When did he have the stroke?
I believe it was right around November 1st or so, 2011. So it's conceivable that, his handwriting changed. It's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. It's going to be ahead of that a little bit. It's stuck in here. You'll get to it in a second, I think. We need to be patient. Sorry. Let's see. That's Andrew Kessel's signature. Here we go. Here's the Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS. Keep going.
How come Ira didn't sign it?
I don't know. But right in here we go. There's Doothwaite, there's Magaziner, but let's see, there's Bruce Lindsay, a place for him to sign it.
Nothing.
But if we keep going, there's another one with his signature.
How do they submit these documents unsigned?
I don't know.
Interesting.
But I think in this one there is his signature.
So what will happen tonight, Charles, at this deadline? I think people are curious to know. We've been hearing tick-tock. We've been talking for so long about November 15th, and then we're finally here. Thanksgiving is just around the corner.
What do we have to be thankful for?
Puts on her oven mitt to prepare a turkey or to throw a casserole dish at whoever is preparing a turkey for her.
I guess we don't have it here, his signature in this version. I have the merger agreement with his signature on it. I just can't pull it up.
Okay, no problem.
But anyway, let's take this off the page if it's okay.
Sure.
And then we'll answer your question. So basically, this entity, the Clinton Foundation, is supposed to be a public charity. It is not, exempt from the law because Hillary Clinton ran for office or Bill Clinton was president or because Chelsea Clinton likes to write children's books. I mean,
did Chelsea Clinton write a children's book?
Oh yeah, there's a big press announcement today. There's an international version of She Persisted.
That's the book, the children's book?
It's about 13 poignant stories about women in America, and this is going to be the global version of famous women who persisted. But this public charity is subject to Arkansas law because it was based there. It has to file a federal tax return. It has to file state tax returns. It has to file foreign tax returns. And unlike corporations, which are much smaller than this, have to file returns on a periodic basis, this thing gets to file a return once a year. And unlike corporations that can have tighter deadlines, this thing gets to say, its year is from January 1st to December 31st. It gets 4.5 months where it normally should file a tax return by May 15th. If it can't do that, it gets an exemption automatically to August 15th. So it has until August 15th.
But that's simply because it's a 501c3, or why is that?
That's just the way the regulations are written. And so all charities of this size have until then to file. Okay? Federally. If they want to file later than that date, they have to make an extension application to the IRS giving a truthful set of reasons why they need the extra time. They don't automatically get till November 15th. But under New York law, you are not allowed to file a tax return after midnight tonight. Okay?
And so what happens if they don't?
Well,
Because nothing seems to happen when they break other laws.
Yeah, well, again, the whole history of this thing has been under a regime where either Bill Clinton's administration was in charge,
right,
or then Lois Lerner was inserted into the IRS. Various and sundry holdovers of the Clinton administration were in power and justice in the IRS. It has only been since arguably sometime either Friday last week or maybe over the weekend that the IRS just changed. This is going to be the first time ever in a long period, like 20, 21 years, where the IRS person, is, let's hope, neutral and may take his job seriously.
Right.
So maybe that person hasn't, achieved turnover in the tax-exempt division and other divisions in the IRS, but we've had turnover there. We also have turnover in the Department of Justice.
Right.
Right? So, yeah, that was the previous
IRS.
Is it? John Koskinen is the previous one. And his term was up, I think, on the 12th. So he's out. And there's a new IRS person, right? There's sessions in the Department of Justice. There are a lot of holdovers in the Department of Justice. But there will be a record created today by midnight. Either they file or they don't file. To physically file forms, you can do it electronically. But chances are they're going to have to send their forms across state lines. And doing so, they'll be using postage. And on the form, if we go to the form, it says, I certify under penalties of perjury that this form is, true, accurate, and correct, or whatever. And you want the 990, actually. But you get the 990 off the Clinton Foundation site.
Right.
Go back to that one. If we just go, just page it back, or go to the Search Charities database page, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, and just take the annual filing for 2015. And then we look, what does that tell us? All right, it says, you see there, if we say under Section 2, we certify under penalties of perjury, this is under New York State penalties of perjury, that we reviewed this report, including all attachments, which in this case is an audit, right? All attachments, and to the best of our knowledge and belief. And you don't have the right to be Elmer Fudd or Mr. Magoo and say, I'm not going to spend any time on this and I'll sign this document. You have a duty of care.
But they got two different guys to sign it.
Well, but they're very serious penalties. So to the best of our knowledge and belief, it should say following due inquiry. It doesn't say that in there, but you do have to make due inquiry into the facts. They are true, correct, and complete in accordance with the laws of the state of New York applicable to this report. It doesn't say they are true, correct, and complete in accordance with the laws of the state of Clinton. It says to the state of New York, applicable to this report, okay?
But isn't it true that if that's incorrect, these two guys get in trouble, not
Serious.
the Clintons?
No. This is just, for this one, this is the New York State issue, okay? So under New York State, the two people who signed this,
Kevin Thurm and Andrew Kessel.
Mr. Kessel, I would argue, was plucked out of obscurity and put into this mess for the purposes of affixing his signature without asking any questions to any of these reports.
Yeah, that seems...
Because his signature is on, he has committed, in my mind, perjury in basically every state of the union, multiple locations, multiple foreign countries. He should change his middle initial to Andrew P. for perjury Kessel. Okay?
What's this guy's deal like before working for the Clintons? What was he up to?
Well, he worked as a banker in New York, and then he took time off, and he went out to Arkansas for some reason, and got involved in various companies out there, and then he was plucked from those companies to become, there you go.
Did you know about him before Clinton shenanigans?
Never heard of him.
That's the guy right there?
Yeah. Financial risk manager and technologist.
More like financial risk taker.
Yeah. He actually started work, according to his resume, which is found through WikiLeaks, on April Fool's Day, which, makes sense.
And he went to your favorite college.
Which is that? Laureate?
Wharton.
Yeah.
So this guy,
So he signs it, but that's what we were looking at just now was the New York State form. We weren't looking at the federal form.
Okay.
Okay, so we look at the federal form.
Oh, that's going to be back over here.
Yeah, you were in the right place if you stayed on the annual filing for charitable organizations.
2015.
Yeah, you hit that, and just we'll keep scrolling. This is going to be a lengthy document.
Oh, sorry. So this.
Yeah, you had it. It's down here. Not that.
Not that.
It's the PD. Yeah, this thing. Keep scrolling down the page. This is a very long document. Should be anyway. You know, for some reason, yeah.
Not scrolling.
All right, here's the 990. This seems to be you jumped.
Yeah, because sometimes it doesn't move and then it jumps.
All right, so you need to go back up a little bit into the body of the return, and we'll get to the signature page. And I'll show you what I mean about the perjury part. Okay.
Well, just signing it when it's false, that's the perjury.
That's a big problem. That's a big problem because it's especially big problem if you do it more than once.
Why more than once?
Because it shows a pattern in practice. A pattern in practice.
Can't claim it was an accident.
Yeah. And your defense can't be that you're going to get to it shortly. I think it's signature page. Might have passed. Let's see.
There's no more dramatic program.
Here we go. So, yeah, under penalties of perjury, I declare that I have examined this return, including accompanying schedules and statements, and to the best of my knowledge and belief, it is true, correct, and complete. And then it says, that's what Andrew Kessel has to say. And so Andrew P. for perjury Kessel, signed that on the 15th of November 2016. And then whoever Marcia K. Krause is, she is an accountant, it would seem, in Washington, D.C., the Washington, D.C. branch of PricewaterhouseCoopers. Okay, so she signs that. Again, it says declaration of preparer other than officer is based on all information of which preparer has any knowledge. Okay, so why is this important? What's going on right now, if they haven't filed, is that, and if it's Price Waterhouse, shame on you, Price Waterhouse.
Should we call them and ask?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to talk to us. Price Waterhouse, if they are still auditing this mess, has been in a furious back and forth with Kessel and whoever else they're talking to, saying, there's a letter, beyond all this stuff that the public sees, there's a letter between Price Waterhouse and the Clinton Foundation, wherein Price Waterhouse, in this letter, forces, forces Andrew Kessel, whoever's going to sign this, to make representations concerning the true state of the Clinton Foundation. So any concern that the accounting firm may have, there would be a paragraph as a guess that says, you represent Mr. Kessel, that there are no pending or threatened governmental actions in any of the following jurisdictions, in the U.S. states, cities where there are, these type of issues, foreign jurisdictions. There would be that if you're going to cover off your risk as an accounting firm, you're going to make that Kessel guy, whoever's going to sign it, sign something that forces that person, to go on the record, so the accounting firm can say, look, I relied on Andrew Kessel
telling us,
that this copy, that we have here of a lease has been superseded by another copy that says, notwithstanding the fact that we promised to the National Archives in a binding agreement that we would always be a validly organized and operated public charity, where it can not controlled by the Clinton family, but controlled by independent people. Notwithstanding that representation made in this agreement, we have secured from the National Archives a waiver of this agreement, which says it's okay to turn, in violation of federal law, in violation of state law, in violation of foreign law. We have a special exemption from, the magic former president, Barack Obama, and his magic attorney general have gotten together and given the infamous Clinton Foundation an exemption, from this specific body of law, which allows us to operate in contempt of all law. Unless they have something like that, which they couldn't possibly have, it's going to be very difficult for Price Waterhouse and the Clinton Foundation to be on the same page after midnight tonight. After midnight tonight, the Uber that was supposed to pick these two up and take them home to their respective places, that Uber driver is not going to be taking both people to the same place. One person is going to go, or they may both go there. One person is going to go to go directly to jail. There is no get out of jail free card.
Got to play the felony thing.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay, there's one count.
There's one.
Well, that's just one. I've got it set so they're going to stack up.
Right. Yeah, I mean.
Well, what's the next one? The signing of the thing, that was the first?
Well, the signing is a serious problem. This is your appointment in tomorrow, midnight tonight. You've got to file tax returns, okay? If you choose not to file tax returns, okay, then that just blows you sky high, okay? If you haven't filed a tax return, then, you've got some serious problems because you've got to admit, in all the states and foreign jurisdictions that you recklessly operated this thing, put it into a place where you did not file all these tax returns while you were still soliciting money, and you didn't tell anybody that you were doing this. It's just, you just, what's that movie, Thelma and Louise?
Yeah.
It's Thelma and Louise on steroids. It's like you're taking Air Force One, Union Pacific trains, the whole Greyhound bus system, you just going right off a cliff.
Off the cliff.
Right? And so, what I'm told by experienced former prosecutors is that when you look at a mess like this, you don't want to go and burden the court system with an indictment or try to secure an indictment for, 1 billion felony counts. You don't necessarily need to do that because you don't put somebody in prison for so long, right? And it's overkill. But, if we go back to the Corinne Brown case, which we've talked about,
right.
There were
300 and something years.
Well, she was ultimately, I checked this stuff, she was ultimately convicted on 18 counts, okay? And I'm not sure what the total sentencing guideline would be if people decided to be harsh. There have been several hearings since the conviction. She was supposed to have been sentenced this week. They secured a delay until December 4th for this set of crimes that she's been convicted for. As we speak, I believe, during today, there was one part of the hearing, you get lawyers will argue, you get one set of lawyers that stand, well, Corinne Brown, she's dedicated herself to public service, there'll be all these arguments, and then the prosecutors will stand up, or as they say in Russia, and so they'll go back and forth on that, and it's up to the judge to decide the fate here.
Right.
So they have this firm deadline tonight by midnight. They've got to decide what to do. Okay, they could try, to go off the cliff and allege there's a health problem or there's this unforeseen problem. Or how could we have known?
I think that Hillary's going to fake her death or something if the heat gets too hot. We've only got 3 felony icons up here right now, and I don't even know if you've outlined 3, but I like the sound effect, so I kept hitting.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, if you want to go into felony land, the best way to do that is to Google. Let's try wire fraud, and the initials USC. And that should get, there you go. Fraud by, let's see, elements of wire fraud, mail-in wire fraud. 18 U.S. Code 1343. We could do that one.
Is it opening it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at this for a second, and I want to read this just because I enjoy reading.
Can you see it? Is this the part or is this the part?
I would love to see
something
this
weird
part here.
going on. Is this an ad?
Yeah, if you could. Yeah, there we go. Whoever having devised or intending to devise any, not like it's not a restricted, any scheme or artifice to defraud or for obtaining money or property by means of what, Jason? By means of false or fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises, transmits or causes to be transmitted by means of wire, radio, or television communication in interstate or foreign commerce, any writings, false tax returns, any writings, signs, signals, pictures, or sounds for the purpose of executing such scheme or artifice shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years.
Wow.
Or both. Now that's the okay news, okay? Here's the bad news.
Yeah.
If the violation occurs in relation to or involving any benefit authorized, transported, transmitted, transferred, dispersed, or paid in connection with a presidentially declared major disaster or emergency, as those terms are defined in Section 102 of the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Acts, or affects a financial institution, i.e. using a bad bank account that's not declared,
Like a Bank of America on 34th?
30th, was it third? Or
Third,
wherever it was. Such person shall be fined not more than 1 million, or imprisoned not more than 30 years, or both. Okay? That sounds pretty rugged to me. I don't know how many, I mean, that's pretty bad. And like the number of instances over the course of this fraud that we could talk about, the Gujarat earthquake in 2001, the Katrina thing in 2005, the tsunami thing in 2005, the Gulf Coast Recovery Fund, the Haiti Fund, now the Five Presidents Fund. I mean, the number of places that you could get these people on this one. I think from memory, another one is 18 USC 1341 from memory. I may have that wrong, but we can try that, see what we get. Frauds and swindles. Yeah, that's mail fraud.
Swindles? Wow, I can't believe they actually use the word swindles. I always thought that was like a...
It has a ring, huh?
That's like talking about booze.
All right, this one is, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both, except, again, you get into the presidential disaster relief and you're...
It's almost like they went and chose the exactly
let's
worst
do that.
thing you could possibly do.
Well, we could do this and we could do that. So, then you have, which one is this? Is this mail fraud? At the very top, I can't see the summary. This is general frauds and swindles.
Swindles.
But if we go actually into Google and we look just, if we try Corinne Brown indictment, I think Corinne is double R, one N, yeah, indictment. Yeah, there you go.
Document cloud?
Yep.
So we've got 4 felony icons up on screen.
Well, see, these are all, here you have them, 18 USC 1349, 1341 and 2. What they do on an indictment to make it seems like the ones I've read now, all are in the same format. There must be an established way to do this that you put up on the top so the judge and the people can understand what this is all about, what it's all about. What's about to happen.
What happened, right?
What's about to happen.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Charles, the comments in Periscope are asking, what difference does it make at this point?
Anyway. Yeah. So you see count 1 is under one section. And I mean, these are just the ones they chose for this small fraud. I guess now looking at this...
Conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. So, I mean, basically anyone that was helping someone in a substantial way who was engaged in wire fraud could be indicted under some of these.
And that's so very dangerous. When you think that it's this grand plan to, run the universe as part of a globalist cabal where American laws don't matter anymore because Hillary Clinton and her team are going to swan around the world and direct the planet, cool it down, do whatever we need to do. And these little laws just don't matter anymore. That's one way you think. I mean, I would liken it to in a boom when banks go crazy and they say to you, the marketing people are running the bank, and they say, Jason, we love you, please borrow some money. And you say, well, I don't like to borrow money. Doesn't matter. How much do you want? I don't need any money. Well, how about 10 million? Would 10 million be okay?
Sure.
And you're like, well, would I have to pay any interest? Nah, for you, no interest. First 5 years, no interest. And you go to this crazy land where marketing guys, the trees are growing to the sky, buildings are getting more valuable, everything's getting more valuable. And you're a friend. I know the Goodman family. You're good, man. So, we'll give you the money, right? And so you take the money out, you sign these documents, you may not read them too carefully, and you piss away the money, unfortunately.
Oh.
And so then this marketing guy, gets fired. And then they put in, my distant cousin.
And he's like, I don't know that guy.
Not only do I not know that guy, you're Mr. Badman. I want my loan back. Yeah. And you signed this agreement over here, and you didn't see this provision and that provision, and you didn't give me a report on a weekly basis of your spending. Oh, you didn't buy that building, you bought a car instead. So then it goes from euphoria, to the other side. Okay? And that's what's going to happen here. Because this is a case study, and especially we'll see what happens, whether there are any grown-ups in the room who take the bad clients, Bill and Hillary and Chelsea. Chelsea needs to spend a lot less time writing children's books and a lot less time being one of the world's experts on diarrhea.
What are you talking about?
Well, she's one of the world's experts on diarrhea.
How is, you got to explain that. You can't just drop that.
She got a PhD in public health from Oxford, and I think as part of it became one of the world's diarrhea
subspecialty in diarrhea.
Well, diarrhea, and to be fair to her, it's not a great conversation.
You can die from it.
It's a very difficult problem, particularly in the developing world where there are not safe water sources, and especially for little kids.
Dehydration.
It is actually quite a serious problem. It wouldn't be the first thing, if I had sitting there, things I wanted to specialize in, my father's a former president, my mother's going to be the president. Let me see, what can I specialize in? I can specialize
Drill in on this problem.
Why don't I focus on this one? This is great. I wouldn't be picking that one. But anyway, instead of boning up on diarrhea, as it were, writing children's books about women who persist, what Chelsea should have been doing is reading Victoria Bjorklund's excellent textbook, originally written, I believe, in 1994 or thereabouts, on New York State nonprofit corporation law, which had she read that book, she would know she's in one heap big amount of trouble, as may well be Victoria Bjorklund, who cannot, as one of the premier lawyers on the subject, say, I didn't understand that the Clinton Foundation couldn't take a public charity and concentrate the power to run that public charity into the hands of the Clinton Foundation while it was fundraising, while it was trying to raise money for an endowment, while it was engaged in activities for which it had no corporate authority. Victoria Bjorklund, an eminent, acclaimed lawyer from Simpson Thacher, which is a fantastic firm. Full disclosure, I worked there for a summer, in a very minor position between high school and college. But, I've had subsequent dealings with it. It's a fine law firm. Bjorklund can't claim that she doesn't understand this was a fraud. And Price Waterhouse, maybe if they take the managing partner who couldn't even get, the Academy Awards right. Recently. He needs to spend less time going to the Academy Awards, hanging around with maybe Harvey Weinstein.
I knew you were going to say that.
And spend a lot more time, finding out what that Marcia Krause, whatever that woman's name was who was up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
from Price Waterhouse.
Why would you use the Washington, D.C. office of Price Waterhouse?
Well, I don't know.
Could the answer be that that's the politically connected part of Price Waterhouse? I mean, you have an Arkansas team, you have a large operation here in New York, you have a secret server, you have a secret office, I walk by Price Waterhouse's headquarters here in New York almost every day. It's on Madison, I think, and 42nd Street.
Didn't all the people from Arthur Anderson just go work for Price Waterhouse after?
It could be. You could be onto something there. If they didn't go to BKD, they went to PwC.
Perhaps all these people are about to get yet another education in diarrhea. The other thing I wanted to tell you about, Charles, is that last night we had the presentation from Jared Beck, and he wrote a book which is going to be called "What Happened to Bernie Sanders."
Oh, that's great. What is that
I
coming
knew
out?
you would like that. So
I like Jared and his wife.
he just submitted the manuscript on that, so people should order that book.
I mean, as I've said before, I thought that Bernie Sanders' economic policies seemed to revolve around him getting as many houses as possible and overlooking the potential bank fraud that his wife committed with that university or college in Vermont. But they don't make, his economic policies didn't make a lot of sense, but some of his attitudes against the deep state, free trade, for certain things that he was for, he was at regulation of Wall Street, I could sign on to some of them. But it sure looks to me as if, thank God he didn't win. Because, I mean, if he would, what we see today, in this $526 million victory fund, that was a bold violation. I'm no lawyer, but it seems like a bold violation of campaign finance.
Hillary victory.
Yeah, that Hillary could go around the states, her people raising money for a fund that was boldly breaking the law.
Yeah.
And it appeared to be, anyway, to be rigging the Democratic primary system. At the same time, they were boldly breaking the law with the Clinton Foundation. Not obviously you can't disclose in your foundation filings, our family controls this public charity illegally because, one of our directors, Hillary, is going to run America and the world however she damn pleases to do so, and nobody's going to stop her. I mean, you can't put that in the New York State form, but you actually have made a material omission
by not
putting it in there, right? So you could have maybe stopped fundraising, but this top criminal lawyer asked me just hours ago, do I have any examples of the Clinton Foundation being used to raise money for the campaign? Now, it's highly suspicious that in past contests, the Democratic National Committee kept the main bank account in Washington, D.C. National Party, makes sense. Put it in Washington, D.C. You got to give the people in Washington, D.C. banks something to do, right? Keep the money down there. Well, the part of the agreement, which sure seems to me to be illegal and possibly a conspiracy, one of the crucial elements was that the bank account for the Democratic National Committee would be sent to Brooklyn.
This was with Amalgamated Bank, right?
Yeah, that paragon of virtue.
George Webb did a lot of reporting about this Hillary Victory Fund and the Amalgamated Bank. And there's an Amalgamated branch right across the street here, when he would stand outside there, do reporting about it, they one day were just like, our bank is closed for planned, what do you call it, updates or whatever.
It was that John Lovitz, that's the ticket. Yeah.
Exactly.
But the point of that is that if you have a bank that is prepared to bend the rules, let's say, not even break them, just bend them, so the money comes towards, the victory fund or comes towards the foundation, and it goes, in a bank account, one or more bank accounts, and then maybe the bank has, a line of credit that allows you basically, if the campaign needs money, part of the security for it is money that's in the foundation, or vice versa. And this is the kind of stuff that you absolutely cannot do. And it's the kind of stuff where the FBI, unless James Comey, James Comey turned the FBI into the FBM, the Federal Bureau of Matters, not of investigation.
I see.
Unless he just defanged the FBI, we do have the ability, I'm told, by people who are experts on money laundering. And I mean serious experts.
I thought you were an expert on money.
I'm not an expert on money laundering, but
solving it, finding it.
No, but I'm talking about people who have actually
done it.
Well, lawfully done it at working for our government.
Huh.
There are to catch a thief, you have to understand how the thief works, and so there are experts out there. I mean, serious people.
Wow.
In our Drug Enforcement Agency and the FBI and elsewhere who know exactly how to do this, and they have the tools. They've had them long. Have the tools to go in and say, all right, Clinton Foundation, give us all of your bank accounts, all of them.
We've got some people from Omaha watching now, Charles.
Really?
So we had, of course, the Franklin Federal Credit Union in Omaha. Should we look at some of the, I haven't really been focusing, because people want to know where's Podesta.
Sure.
People want to know all these things. I think, myself included, we were really anticipating some sort of a huge announcement from Donald Trump with regard to, hashtag lock her up.
Well,
These sealed indictments and everything. Lionel sent you that post.
Right. Yeah. I think what people are doing here is they're doing this very carefully by the book, which is sort of a real change from the way it was done in the last 8 years, last 16 years and longer. And just guessing. I'm really just making educated guess. No point in doing anything before midnight tonight.
Right.
The second 12:01, if there's nothing in the file, 12:01, heap big trouble, and your leverage only increases. And you are trying to get an adept crime family here. You're trying to get a family that is managed.
They've been at it for 30 years or more.
Or perhaps, who knows?
Maybe we should have done this show tomorrow so that we would know what happened.
Well, the point is, by the time they do file anything, I'm going to need a little bit of time to look through it, and so on Sunday,
Okay.
I'll be able to give. There's no point rushing into it. Let's see what they do file. Give me a little chance to just make sure I understand it, and we will give quite a complete report, on this forthcoming show, Sunday with Charles.
Well, now, so let me delve a little bit into matters of opinion.
Sure.
I don't know if you got to see or if you were just listening, because I know you were on your way over here, to Trump's speech there, but it seemed to me like he had some kind of like a renewed confidence.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think what's going on, I've been watching, now hats off to Sean Hannity and his show and his team, but I've been watching his show, and to Seb Gorka, who is really doing fantastic work, and he's a very smart person, but he has also, a lot of times you find people who are connected to Eastern Europe who then become American citizens, have they really cherish, revere the Constitution, revere what America stands for, and because they have personal knowledge in their families of how bad life was in different systems, they can think very, in black and white terms. So Sean has had, Peter Schweitzer on last night. He had Sebastian Gorka. He had the great Sarah Carter and John Solomon, whom I know. John is both Sarah and John are great investigative reporters. And they have been circling this. They're Janine Pirro. They are well aware of, the peril this Clinton Foundation is in. And I might add, it's not simply the Clinton Foundation that's in trouble here.
It's all the people that gave them the money.
Including the Clinton Family Foundation, which is a separate foundation in New York that was set up, I want to say, in December of 2001, and has, for most of that time period, been run either by Bill and Hillary or by Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea, complying with New York law, getting the forms filled in.
Why would they do that?
Well, save for making donations to the Clinton Foundation entities that were not lawfully organized and operated, mischaracterizing them as being valid public charities when they weren't.
Wait a minute. So they set up the Clinton Family Foundation properly.
Well, in theory, properly. So for example, the Clinton Family Foundation, if you want to see it, we can go to the New York State site and we can see it.
Sure. What is that? Just
NYS Charity Bureau search, that one, yeah.
Okay.
We punch in the first purple link or whatever. Yeah. There, I don't remember the EIN, but the organization name is Clinton Family Foundation. It should be Clinton Crime Family, but it's
right.
And I think you've got.
Did I spell?
Yeah, there you go. See, Clinton Family Foundation, and you hit that red link. It should pop up.
I think it's still thinking about it.
There you go. And this registration statement, you see here they have a problem. Okay, if you go down the page the other way. Okay. They first registered in New York on the 16th of August 2002. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You've hit all of them at once.
Oops. Sorry. I got a notification that the lawyer for Roy Moore is going to make a press announcement.
Good. I wonder what he's going to say. So if we go further down, see, they don't have the earliest filings here, okay? So how do we get them? A little trick, Clintons. This is how you get them. We go into ProPublica, Nonprofit Explorer.
Advanced search?
No, just regular's fine for that.
Okay.
And we punch in Clinton Family Foundation. Nonprofit Explorer.
Where's that?
If you go back to Google, I'm afraid, and just Google ProPublica. No, if you go into Google and Google ProPublica Nonprofit Explorer. Yeah. And then we do, yeah. And then we look at the Clinton Family Foundation.
I apologize, the internet isn't faster, Charles.
Well, you are not in charge of the internet. Al Gore's in charge of the internet.
That's true, he invented it.
When he isn't chasing masseuses. Clinton Family Foundation.
I can see that some of the comments are talking about H.W. Bush now being accused of groping. There were some Secret Service agents that came out and said that
It was Biden.
Joe Biden was like worse than Weinstein.
Well, there's a picture of Jeff Sessions slapping Joe Biden's arm away from his granddaughter. Here we go. Clinton Family Foundation in Chappaqua, second one.
So that's interesting because it would seem to indicate that Sessions knows that Joe Biden, like, get your hands off my granddaughter.
I mean, it's not. We go to the very bottom. You'll see this. All right, 2001. This is not on the New York Forum. Right? Here we have the one for 2001. We pull it up.
Does that warrant another?
It could. A ka-ching. You've got it right here. Yeah. And so this is interesting. This shows that somebody knew. Here you have the Clinton Family Foundation, right? Notice that its tax year begins on the 4th of December, 2001, and ends on the 31st of December, 2001. Now, I know, Jason, you don't like numbers, but you're very good with basic arithmetic. Let's look at this. This is in 2001, right? This is the first period that they filed a return for this Clinton Family Foundation. Notice in the second line it says initial return. That means it's the first one, right?
Yeah.
Check all that apply, initial return. Okay, so in this one, they file this for less than a month at the end of 2001.
Yeah, why is that?
That's called the short period return. You have to file it. So they did file it for their family foundation, but they did not file it for the main Clinton Presidential Foundation, which was formed on October 23rd, 1997, and had operations in 1997. So for a longer period, right? October 23rd is well over a month before December 4th, right? So in this case, by 2001, they filed a short period return. And note what they did. They made a contribution of $800,000 to this thing. It had not yet gotten federal tax exemption, but they were able to claim a deduction on their federal and state returns for $800,000 into this foundation, which doesn't, in this short period, make any contributions. So one might argue that that's kind of a slick move.
I didn't even understand the explanation.
All right, so generally speaking, if you go back to that first page, you see line 15. Keep going down. That's the line.
Yes.
You got line, not 15. It's keep going down. 25. Line 25. Contributions, gifts, grants paid. What number do you see?
0.
Okay. What are the total expenses that you see?
800,000?
No. No.
Where?
Line 26. Total expenses and disbursements.
0.
Okay. So they took in 800,000 and they earned $11 of interest.
It's pretty good.
Yes, 2001. Yeah, it's just and
they're killing it.
They're killing it. Exactly. That's just the team we want running this country. So they spent nothing on charity, but they were able by this ruse to take a tax deduction on their personal return. Okay.
Wow.
And if we keep going down further, there's a section where I think it says, where were you required to file the return? And they were required, I believe, here we go, statement regarding activities, keep going. Yeah, here, you see it? Yeah. It says, for some reason, yeah, enter the states to which the foundation reports or with which it is registered, New York. Okay, it did not register in New York prior to December 4th, 2001. We saw in the preceding thing it registered in 2006. So they make a contribution sometime between December 4th and December 31st, 2001, so that they can reduce their taxes. She's a New York State senator, one of 2 senators representing the state. Now, last I checked, New York State is not in the best shape financially.
So she's basically swindling on the taxes.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, you know.
Well, I mean, I think that's worthy of yet another. I think we're up to 5.
So, 5, many more than 5. And so the thing is, here's an example. In their personal finances, they do file a short period return, but with the main foundation, they don't. They don't file a short period return with Chai, as we discussed New Chai last one. I mean, that's really serious. And why is that really serious? They're lying while Hillary's Secretary of State, while she's interacting with all these foreign governments, while Bill is taking money from Laureate, big money, part-time work, while she's swanning around on Air Force, whatever it was, and he's doing whatever he's doing on whatever planes he's doing.
Yeah,
I don't want to think about that.
You're right.
And you know, they have this thing, Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS Initiative, taking a ton of money from France and Unité and other places, and it did exist, yet they claim it didn't exist, and they don't file the crucial short period return, December 29th, 2009, December 31st, 2009, for that period, which would have shed, you know, real laser beam on what was the old Clinton Foundation doing prior to the formation of this New Chai, and what was New Chai doing in 2009. You'd have to have a real accounting firm would look at that and say, you know, hang on, Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea. You know, you don't yet run this planet and the universe and shred the Constitution. You can't quite do that yet. You know, please tell me. And where's the record of what Price Waterhouse actually did? I mean, they have accounting firms, you know, of the level of Price Waterhouse. We joke about it in this broadcast, but Price Waterhouse, if it isn't the biggest accounting firm in the world,
certainly one of them.
It's one of the very biggest. And they have people who write manuals about, you know, best practices, and they have engagement letters with the Clinton Foundation where they say they're employing best practices, and they've got, you know, marketing people at Price Waterhouse who show up with beady eyeglasses and eye shades or whatever, and they say, oh yeah, we're going to be your accountant. Count on us. So somebody, you know, should have known by now, and has until midnight tonight to decide, you know, do they feel lucky?
What exactly? And now, so I want to go back to your signature graphic for today. Do they feel lucky? I don't know.
I don't know how lucky they're feeling right now. And, you know, I don't want to beat up too much solely on Mr. Kessler. You know, what these people have, the Clintons do, is they bring in, you know, people who, for whatever reason, are willing to sign these forms. Kevin, I don't know how you pronounce it, whether it's term or therm, previously had a long career at Citibank. Now, it's not...
I don't trust them at all.
And it's not his fault. I mean, Citibank, some would argue, has been out of control for decades, and it's not, you can't pin the blame just on him. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's worth noting that in 2008, Citibank was in such bad shape that the Federal Reserve had to basically extend, or the government had to extend credit lines in massive size. And the Federal Reserve had to depress interest rates so that Citibank wouldn't, you know, go belly up.
Have we found him here?
That's not it.
Not him.
No, he's not a buyer at Omega Cabinetry, I don't think, unless he's got, you know, he's based here in New York. If you put with Clinton, you should get to him. If he's on LinkedIn, he's on Twitter.
Wonder what he's tweeting about.
Wait. Kevin Thurm served as her chief of staff What the hell is a chief of staff? And if
This one?
yeah, that'll work.
See, the thing that I was looking into there was, I think it would be interesting. Why not?
Oh, here you could donate if you want.
Oh yeah, that would be a great idea. Maybe I should try to contact the Price Waterhouse.
No, they won't. They will not listen to you. Let's just look. Let's pull up though. Thurm, wherever he is. Yeah, acting chief executive officer.
There he is.
All right.
He looks nervous.
Yeah. Question is, how is he acting? All right. So here he worked as a senior counselor at the U.S. Department. If you can just make that a little smaller. Health and Human Services, including implementation of the Affordable Care Act. Why does that give me a great sense of confidence? He was the chief compliance officer at Citigroup at a time where it went nuts. And then he worked for Donna Shalala. Oh my goodness, no, please no. Another rogue scholar. It just, you know.
What does that mean when you're a Rhodes Scholar from Oxford?
No, Rhodes Scholar is a big deal. It was set up by Cecil Rhodes, and or in the memory of Cecil Rhodes, who some argue was a diabolical scoundrel, who created modern Zimbabwe. It was called Rhodesia, and it exploited Southern Africa. And I suppose it's fitting that overnight in Zimbabwe we learn that it's someone who may, if it's possible to be even worse than Robert Mugabe, there's a guy who is now taking over Zimbabwe from Robert Mugabe. But, a Rhodes Scholar, the idea used to be you were meant to be best and the brightest, scholar athletes, stand out, and it was a nationwide competition in this country, funded by the Rhodes Trust, but also there's similar operations in other countries as well. And you get a paid 2-year term at Oxford and a stipend. It's a big deal. And in the past, there have been lots of. Bill Clinton was a rogue scholar, and Ira Magaziner was a rogue scholar, and Susan Rice was a rogue scholar.
That's how they all know each other.
I guess. And who else was? Who's that Labor Department guy?
Ron Brown?
No, he was
Commerce.
Take the plane to the mountain. It was Robert Reich, a rogue scholar. So. And Bob Harrison, the CEO of Clinton Global Initiative, he was a rogue scholar.
So it's literally like a gallery of rogues.
It would seem. But this is the person, he's the acting chief executive officer, and if he decides to put his signature on this document, he may have already decided, The question will be, what side agreements are there, that give him a benefit in what country? Has he reported all this? Does he have a conscience? To me, you can't really pin the blame on this guy for everything that's happened in the Clinton Foundation, except, if he's going to be the acting chief executive officer, he's got to remember, it's not a movie he's in. There are this is the real world. There are real laws. They do apply, especially to him. If he's the chief executive officer, he's the one whose name is on this list. You can't say, why don't we get, that guy who brings us coffee in the morning, why don't we get him to sign the thing? You can't
They need
do that.
someone with real credentials, huh?
Yeah, they tightened that up.
I'm trying to see if we can locate this guy somewhere else. Well, so someone in the comments was asking, Donna Shalala, wasn't she in Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
Well, what else would we like to look at here today, Charles? I think we're going to need to wait to find out what actually happened.
We might want to check Zero Hedge and see if anything.
Yeah, they had
happen.
something cooking, right?
Yeah.
And I must also say, True Pundit has been knocking it out of the park lately. Lots of good information.
Yeah, very impressive.
Well, here's Zero Hedge. They're talking about.
Well, that's a good one. I like that one.
Wait, how did he come in front there?
He's persistent. He persisted.
There we go.
CNN exposes modern-day slave auctions in liberated Libya.
Really? But I thought we already
But Secretary
knew
of
about
State Clinton knew the rebels she supported was targeting black Libyans as early as 2011. Now let's just think about that for a second.
Wow.
You know, I mean, here you have, I mean, it'd be one thing if we had somebody who was scrupulous to a fault. You know, somebody who said, you know, the rules are that I'm only supposed to use a government server for government communications, you know, but I'm going to go one step further. You know, I'm going to ask to have an FBI agent review everything that goes out, and then I'm going to have somebody from Fox News on one side of me and the New York Times on the other side of me, just so they can see transparently that everything I do is above the board. I mean, I'm not suggesting you do that, but that's one approach. The Clinton approach is, no. What we're going to do, we are going to basically, all of our communications are going to be routed through the basement in Chappaqua, where we did
the restroom, yeah.
You know, because it's, I don't know, it's closer to the glass figurine collection. And, you know, we're going to keep all of those emails in, not only during the time that she's Secretary of State, but for almost, or 2 years or longer, I gather, after she left. You know, do we think that the reason that there might be some secrecy involved in these emails is that there are a hell of a lot of incredibly incriminating emails,
right,
which, if the public knew about it,
would hate her?
Well, and not only that, the Democratic National Committee might not have entered into an agreement, you know, with the Hillary Clinton Victory Fund to give her control of the campaign apparatus before the primaries. You know, you think that maybe these emails might have been material, not just to people who didn't want Hillary to be elected from the, you know, non-Democrat camp, but to the Berniacs, Martin O'Malley, whoever else was in the primary or decided not to run, Joe Biden. I mean, if Joe Biden had known what were in these emails, maybe Joe Biden would have run.
Maybe he knew, but his stuff is even worse. Charles, how can any black person in America look at something like this? How can Donna Brazile support Hillary Clinton knowing that she has called black people super predators, that she is supporting the slave trade of black Libyans? I
mean, or how about the time where she travels in the South and she changes her accent, and then the hot sauce and all that. I mean, I actually, the way I think about stuff like this, I think it is a mistake to say that black people would be upset about this, because in fact any human being should be unbelievably offended by the fact that.
Well, but if you were in the KKK, maybe you like her for doing this.
I wonder.
That crazy guy, Robert Byrd, who she was kissing and reading a eulogy. Like, that's what I mean. That sounds like KKK behavior if you're going to...
You're making a lot of sense here. I mean, maybe this is Strom Thurmond and with Bill Clinton but no, honestly, this is, in 2011, we have the first black president of the United States. We have, a second one. Bill was the first one. And now Hillary Clinton's, counting on the black vote. And why, I think history is going to look back at this, and one of the things they're going to realize is that, unfortunately, Barack Hussein Obama, I believe, is Swahili.
What?
I believe the origins of that name are, I think, I may have it wrong, are Swahili.
Is that a language in Kenya?
Swahili is a language that was created by Arab origin slave traders so that you could function across the continent of Africa. So, I mean, slave trading in Africa started way before, modern colonial period, go back, ancient times, right? To see, history is going to look at this period and say, oh my God, the bankruptcy, the moral bankruptcy, of an administration led by somebody with ties to this region who would countenance, who would react to Muammar Gaddafi, who apparently was quite willing to, join the tent, join the community of nations, was eager to, in theory, do so. And we haven't seen all these secret cables yet, but they're going to probably come out and show that, we just decided for some as yet unknown set of reasons, we're just going to assassinate the guy.
What do you mean unknown? I thought it was because he wanted to create the African dinar and have a gold currency for African oil trading, and they said, no, petrodollar, bang. And
right, well, again, I say it's unknown because we don't have the incriminating cables yet. There are cables, somebody has records, of what was going on.
You can see videos of him at the UN speaking English. She speaks English almost perfectly, talking about this. How, I mean, in my mind, this is one of the biggest issues. I know you and I possibly disagree on this, but the whole fiat currency nature of the petrodollar versus anybody who's ever tried to challenge that, like when Saddam Hussein in 2002 sold oil for euros, they killed him. Gaddafi wanted to make this gold dinar as the currency of the African Union to compete with the dollar and the euro on the US stage, and to be the only currency accepted for trading oil among African nations. They killed him. I mean, what can they, like, Obama can't look at Libya and say, oh, look, see, we brought peace and prosperity. I mean, they ruined the place.
Well, yeah, and so Libya is an interesting case in the sense that when you look at the population of Libya, it's very small, and it's quite close to Europe.
And mostly dead now.
Yeah, and when you look into the history, the people who live around Benghazi had a reputation, and you can see multiple articles written about this, as being just like Chechens. I mean, they're just difficult people. Long been some of the worst terrorists in radical Islam have ties, like historical ties to Benghazi. So Libya is a country constructed, and whenever it was constructed, and it's not really obviously unified. It has a vast southern portion that through which you can escape and go around the world, and for many, many, many decades, it has had lots of foreign assets. They have investments in big European companies. They have large, in theory, cash accounts. And we need to understand what it was that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton thought they were doing with this Libyan situation. And what gave rise to, here's a surprise press conference. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So we need to understand what really happened in Libya, which may have been viewed to release.
May have been viewed as what?
Which may have been viewed as a pocket to pick.
Right.
With no recognized government,
Right.
who was going to get the accounts?
Didn't Gaddafi have something like half as much gold as the entire United States?
Well, no one. See, this is why I say we don't yet know, and I think we have an absolute right to know. I don't think that when we elect a president, I don't think the approach is that the party of the president therefore has a hunting license to go around the world and do whatever it wants to do, enriching donors to the Democratic Party or to the campaign of the winning person. I just don't think that's the way it's supposed to work. I also don't think it's right that we have, however many agencies we have, swanning around the world, doing whatever they may be doing on projects that are deemed by who knows which persons that they're secret and we can't really know what's going on. I mean,
national security.
There is a mess in Libya. And Libya is today far less stable than it was. There are still refugees streaming into Europe. What were we thinking? And who was on the record doing what? What was Sidney Blumenthal doing through all this?
Selling them vertical takeoff and is Osprey Global at all involved with the Osprey aircraft? Maybe not, but I think they're some sort of military contractor, and he just wanted to blow stuff up and charge people for it.
Well, remember with Sidney Blumenthal, the issue was that the Obama people thought he was responsible for a series of dirty tricks, including that New Yorker magazine cover that pictured.
Oh yeah.
In July, whatever date that was, which pictured Michelle with a machine gun and Barack with a terrorist outfit in the Oval Office, and that's the kind of thing that obviously a Democrat did that, because if a Republican did that,
you'd never hear the end of it.
Well, they'd be in concentration camps if there were such things. I mean, it's just that really was way beyond the pale to do something like that.
Right.
And for that, Sidney Blumenthal was supposedly deemed persona non grata in the Obama administration, yet he wangles his way onto a paid position for the Clinton Foundation, and judging from the WikiLeaks and other cables, he's sending, these incredible reports that seem somehow to have confidential, maybe even classified information in them, feeding them directly to Hillary.
I mean, that dude's like Snidely Whiplash or something. He's up there just like writing, crazy emails to John Podesta and like doing all kinds of.
The name that leaps to mind for me and concerning Sydney is Pepe Le Pew.
And then doesn't his son write for the New Yorker, Max
Blumenthal, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we have here on breaking more news? Is there anything?
Well, I don't know. This guy, he signed some girl's yearbook or something. I haven't exactly been following this story, but there's so many stories of sexual misconduct coming to light. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's not get diverted into this too much, just because.
Right. I wonder if True Pundit has anything about the return of the president and that speech.
Well, that's a good site.
It is. I really do enjoy True Pundit. Had a lengthy conversation with Thomas Paine last night. And let's see, Trump has a Marco Rubio moment. Oh. Yeah, I did find that unusual that he was breaking for water in the middle of a national press conference and said there's no water. He's very casual. He's very, he's different than other presidents.
He sure is. Well, 3:30 in the afternoon is a very dangerous moment to go for a press conference once you've just gotten back from Asia.
Why is that?
Because, the parts of Asia have different time zones, and it depends on the time of the year. But, that's about roughly 12 hours difference. So for him, he's just been in Asia. You could assume he's pretty much on Asian time. And that's 3:30 in the morning, Asian time. To give a press conference, I wouldn't have advised him to do that. But I would have said it was smarter to maybe think about doing it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And for the benefit of the White House press corps, do it at a time where they love to be there, say 6 in the morning.
Now, this is interesting. Women on Capitol Hill tell of sex trade creep list of lawmakers. Now, I don't know if you got a chance to see this, Charles, but last week I interviewed the Las Vegas madam who told us stories of, she ran an escort service in Texas, and she was approached by the FBI to entrap Bill Clinton in the 1980s or the 1990s.
Oh, really?
And when she refused to do it, they threw her in jail for 8 years and made her life miserable.
Really?
And she spoke about the D.C. madam. What's her last name? Paulie or something? Pauls.
Was it Sydney Biddle-Barrows, or is that?
I forget her name. People can go back into the Crowdsource the Truth video archives and watch that interview. It's interesting. She's got quite a story to tell. And I mean, I find it interesting that, like, how do they decide when to arrest anybody? If they know that she's a madam and illegally running a prostitution business, their first move is not to arrest her, but to get her to work for them. And when she refuses to do that, then they arrest her.
Yeah, it's
pretty bad, Charles.
It's really bad. It's distressing. So it's a time, I think, a good moment for Donald Trump to get some rest, his team to see what the Clinton Foundation files. Do you want to check again and see if they filed? Or?
Oh, sure. You think it would come up in that moment?
It's possible.
Where was I looking for that?
You could just refresh this page and see if there's anything new. Oh, they did file.
They did?
Annual filing for charitable organizations.
Oh, wow. So look at that.
All right.
So let's take a look at it.
TikTok.
That's amazing, isn't it, Charles? That's.
Thank you, whoever was working in New York State. Now we'll.
Do you think they're watching this show and they were intimidated by the sudden impact graphic and felt they weren't feeling lucky, so they'd best.
Well, let's see. We'll see what they filed.
See what they filed here.
All right. Oh, this is for their family foundation.
So
they
what does that
filed
mean?
for their family. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is right. They filed for their family. Look when they filed. Look at those signatures. Okay. Who are those signatures, Jason?
H.R. Hillary Rodham Clinton.
And who's on top? As it were.
Not Huma.
William Jefferson Clinton.
Oh, well, that
so
makes
they
sense.
signed, it was due on May 15th, and they signed this one on May 3rd. Okay? So
Wow.
they don't need an attachment. Let's see if we go further down here.
Well, wait a minute. So it's just been hanging out for 6 months?
This is the family foundation, not the big one. This is the one that does things correctly in theory, except for giving money to the Clinton Foundation. So
Why do you suppose they're doing that? That this is correct and everything else isn't?
it's other people's money. You have one attitude. Your own money, a different attitude.
Huh.
But if we look, this will be interesting because this will show whether they gave money to the Clinton Foundation. The Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton. We keep going down. They have
Does
250.
this say they only made 250?
Oh, this is hysterical. This is hysterical.
What?
Keep going.
I mean, they only made 250,000.
That's their income, and they contributed $395,000
How could they do that?
because they had cash on the balance sheet.
I see.
Yeah. But so if we'll now look at if we keep going, we'll see how much money they gave in 2016 to any Clinton Foundation. The ones that are better known. This is the family slush fund, okay, that has almost $2 million in it. Okay, so they don't need to make additional contributions to run this thing down. And if we keep on keeping on, it'll show an actual list of all the contributions.
Who's Howard M. Topaz?
I don't know.
Oh, he's got his phone number there.
Yeah, he's just an accountant.
Could call him and ask him what happened.
He won't tell you. And the names, you couldn't make this up, right? Howard M. Topaz, Howard M. Garnett, Howard M. Sapphire, Howard M.
So what are we looking for here?
Keep on going. There'll be a list of the contributions. They'll show us how much they gave to the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation, if anything.
What is
Keeps
this?
on going.
10 million?
Forget about that for a sec. Yeah, you're almost there. You're almost there. All right, there's William Clinton signing it again. He's the president. He likes that title.
Topaz.
Hogan Lovells is a law firm, I think.
Hogan Lovells is the guys who were involved with purple shovels in the uranium situation.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, George did a lot of reporting on Hogan Lovells.
Oh,
So what are they doing here?
that's his lawyer. Okay, it'll come in a second, I think, the next page.
Oops.
Or so. Next page. Next page. Come on, baby.
There's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Okay, this is a list. I don't know if we can turn this the other way. Yeah. Okay. So they gave money to, now the Thea Foundation is interesting. They seem to give it $100,000 a year, which is of the 385 or whatever.
What is the Thea Foundation?
That's some strange foundation in North Little Rock, in honor of a young lady who died. But let's just see how much of this money went to the Clinton Foundation. Hippie USA, I wonder what that is.
Huh. 10 grand.
All right, the University of Arkansas, that's for the Clinton School of Public Service, that's $75,000. Let's see, keep going. The Friends of the Rockefeller State Park Preserve. No money to the Clinton Foundation.
So what does that mean?
They're out there telling everybody else to give money to the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation, but of their own money in 2016, they gave nothing. At least through this family foundation. They may have done it personally, which we may or may not see on their tax returns, but this shows that no money, in the traditional way, years past, they would route their money, their donations to the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation and to other affiliated Clinton foundations through the family foundation. This shows that in 2016, they didn't do that. Now, let's go back to the Search Charities database and see if they filed for the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation. Now, what is this? You've got to go back a page. And we got to search on, we got to even go back another page, maybe.
You can just put in the EIN?
Yeah. And you'll have it if you just punch 31. Not 31.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay. 158. Yep. Now let's see. Did they feel lucky? And for posterity, we're doing this. Oh, what? 311580204. What happened?
Didn't work?
Something is definitely odd here.
One
Oh, you can
five.
take out the Clinton Family Foundation name.
Sorry.
It's okay? Now it should work. And for posterity, what is the time right now? At 5:35 p.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Did they feel lucky? Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation. Let us see. Keep going. Nope. They're not feeling terribly lucky.
But they still have a few hours.
That's right.
Still have a few hours to go. Well, I don't know, Charles. Do we want to continue exploring, or should we break at this moment and come back on Sunday when we've had some time to evaluate what happened?
I think we could do one quick thing, though, and
Sure.
check if there are any comments, if people have asked questions,
Yes, we can do that for sure.
that we can try to answer. If not,
People are saying ding, so I guess maybe they like the felony counter.
yeah, I mean, do a few more dings. And don't forget the music. We've got to play that.
Someone says Charles Ortel, Jason Goodman, George Webb, Jews on the bright side of the force, except that two of those people are not Jewish.
Yeah, I'm very much not Jewish. But that
So the
doesn't matter.
comments are sometimes, So hippie equals home instruction for parents of preschool youngsters, according to Kekoa 1776.
All right,
on
let's
Periscope.
for the fun of it, let's check Ortel's first law. Let's go back to Google.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do hippie, Clinton, and fraud, and see what happens.
It's a good law.
Black
check.
Men for Bernie organizer sues DNC and Hillary Clinton for fraud.
That's hippies. So did Hillary Clinton introduce a new approach to early something? The hippie program based on home visits. Proud hippie mom.
Yeah, well, we'll have to look at this at another moment. But all right, so it says here, A Bridge to the Future 2017, in partnership with Hippie Arkansas, which may or may not exist. Too Small to Fail, which does not exist.
Too small to fail.
Yeah, that's something in partnership with the Melinda Gates Foundation, but it's never been organized.
Oh, meaning the children are too small to fail.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. They're very good in the naming department. They
Right.
always have names. I like the word initiative. I mean, that sounds like you're doing something.
Thea Foundation is a pedo front, according to the Inquisitor. What is the Thea Foundation?
Well, let's look at that article.
What, just say Thea Foundation? I've never heard of the Thea Foundation.
Yeah, it's a small one. Well, we can, if there are no other comments, we could probably.
People would like to see you interviewed with David Hawkins and Field McConnell.
Who are
Do you
they?
know those guys? Well, those guys have been researching Serco and companies that are. You could go back and watch the interview that I did with both of them, and they'll
Sure.
explain it better than I can. But they're very interesting interviews. So I don't know. We're going to have to do some research to figure out what this.
Yeah, we'll why don't we not do it?
Yeah.
Sort of. The last thing maybe.
So here's
to
a question, though. Sorry.
So go ahead.
What was Charles expecting to see in the file, and why was it hysterical at first glance?
What the one we just went to, Family Foundation. Well, so here we have Bill and Bill in particular hawking at the end of the year. You know how when the year is closing out, you have somebody stand up and say, well, we're doing such great work. If you and the public, we've only got X many hours left of the year. For every $100,000 that comes in, I'll match it. Blah blah blah. But here in 2016, the year in which Hillary's running for president, thinks she's going to be president, they don't send a penny to this main Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation in ways that they had done in the past.
They could have used some of the stolen money at least, put it back in there.
But it's just, typical.
Well, yeah, people are asking if there was a game-changing speech by POTUS. I don't think so. I think it was a typical kind of, what a great trip to Asia sort of speech. I would have loved to see him say something about
what happened?
The shakeup in Saudi Arabia and all of these. When will we know about the sealed indictments? When do they get unsealed?
I don't know. I mean, I think on a matter as complex as may involve the Clinton Foundation, I think in the Clinton Foundation you're talking about garden variety sets of frauds. You could be talking about foreign corrupt practices, act violations. You could be talking about maybe the Clinton Foundation was used as a vehicle to bribe, which you're not allowed to do, foreign leaders, one way or another. Maybe they got really sloppy and money was routed to the Clinton Foundation, through the Clinton Foundation, to places it definitely should not have gone, such as sworn enemies of the United States of America, perhaps. That's what happens when you have horrible controls. So what I'm waiting to see, principally, I'm waiting to see when the price, which accounting firm signs a quote audit. Okay, what is this?
This is something, okay, so you haven't seen this. This is very interesting. Both Hillary Clinton and our second favorite guy, John McCain, have recently been spotted wearing what appears to be a remarkably similar sort of cast boot kind of thing, which people are speculating might be hiding an ankle bracelet, GPS. I mean, it does seem strange that they're using it looks like the exact same brand, same exact style of boot.
Das Boot.
Das Boot, yeah. So are they indicted?
Who knows? But I started to say that on something this complicated, I'm told by lawyers who know what they're talking about that to get an indictment, you have to go before a grand jury and you've got to lay it out properly and there's strategy involved. And so it's not surprising if there are indictments that some of them are sealed. The number that's out there, that could be all the sealed indictments for any matter in the United States of America. The site could also be wrong. I mean, we haven't verified it yet. But I think, in summary, people are waiting to see what document will be filed, what sets of outside advisors will, affix their signatures, which trustees are going to sign on to this, whether anybody is going to balk, what the fine print is going to say. And I will be able by Sunday, assuming it comes out tonight, and even assuming it comes out, let's say, by Saturday morning, I will be able to have, one way or another, extensive comments this coming Sunday.
That sounds good. I think we'll look forward to that.
Good.
All right, Charles. Well, great to see you on this Wednesday edition of Sunday with Charles. Yes.
We need the graphic and we need the music.
Of course. Let me bring that
And maybe
up.
the ka-chings a few more times, just for the hell of it.
Well, I almost filled up the screen with the ka-chings.
So you've done that? All right.
Yeah, you'll have to watch it on the playback, unfortunately, to see that. So we can bring that up. And the music, of course, yes, we do need.
And while you're doing that, I want to say there's one interesting thing that I can report. There we go. While we're looking, let's compliment the art department again on that. That's really very well done, including the hair. I like the hair.
That's Clint Eastwood's hair.
I like it. It looks really good. But here's a very interesting thing. Today, for the first time, I was on a great show, the David Knight Show.
Oh, yeah, on InfoWars.
On InfoWars.
I like David Knight.
And I'm headed over to RT to talk about something in a little bit. And then tomorrow I'll be back on with Yatrice Lead. And one of the things I was talking about with my high school buddies at lunch today is how remarkable it is that people on such different ends of the political spectrum, InfoWars, Progressive Radio Network, could actually share so much common ground. And the thoughtful suggestions that come out of both camps, which are of course reviled by the mainstream media, and of course, the Ben Rhodeses of the world and the New York Times of this world just can't even believe that these people would dare to have opinions. In fact, their opinions are very interesting and thoughtful, and it's an absolute joy to appear, so frequently in so many diverse audiences and actually have grown-up discussions, including, with you and the crowdsourcers, people I think are across the political spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's as if, the inmates are definitely running the asylum in these academias and these, in the global media empires, and people like you and the citizen journalists, George Webb, Thomas Paine, and others are doing work that is being really appreciated. And now, if you appreciate your work, what do you think the audience should do?
Well, I would hope that they would go to paypal.me and become sponsors of the channel, or go to patreon.com, crowdsource the truth. Charles, there's actually a concentrated effort underway to attack the monetization method that I'm using. Some of the same people utilizing the same tactics as, let's say, the Clintons or other criminals that we've seen. They like to put out false information. They like to say that I receive regular funding from Mossad, which frankly I find a discriminatory attack on me.
Is that because you live on the West Side?
I guess because I'm Jewish. But they make false statements about the value of this apartment and the cost of living here. Do you think it would cost $40,000 per month to rent an apartment like this in New York City?
If it were the Clinton Foundation, yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff they would do.
Or if the interior were lined with gold, possibly.
Right, yeah.
But ridiculous statements get made. We have had a lot of growth to the subscribers on YouTube, and someone out there in the blogosphere, Twitterverse, universe has suggested that I'm buying subscribers, which, first of all, I don't know how to do that. Second of all, I don't understand what the purpose of that would be, because I want more subscribers so that we can spread the word more about the type of research that you're doing. And obviously, this is a business. This is not a charity, so I'm not under the same types of obligations as a 501c3 nonprofit organization would be to reveal how the money is spent. I mean, as the sole proprietor of a private business, I choose how the money is spent, and if people don't like the business, they stop being patrons of it.
Well, let's just take that for a quick second.
Sure.
So here you are, here's a media, the vaunted mainstream media, and New York Times and all those people. Not a problem at all letting Bill Clinton collect $6.4 million to have a ghostwriter write a book about a charity that's actually conducting illegal activities, fails to disclose all that stuff, publishes the book in September of 2007, right in the midst of Hillary's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with Bill Clinton chasing co-eds around laureate campuses around the world, collecting $17.6 million for that. Nothing wrong with Bill Clinton collecting $500,000 to give a speech. That must have been some speech in Moscow, and all these other speeches. And Hillary Clinton lecturing us on who knows what. It can't be campaign management. It can't be, prudence with your finances.
Yoga.
Whatever, glass figurines. I mean, there's that kind of stuff, just look the other way. I mean, it's okay for these people to collect for a 20-minute speech or a 1-hour speech, $250,000, $225,000, $500,000, Hillary Clinton to get paid book advances, Chelsea Clinton to be overpaid for this and that. It's okay to just let all that slide. But, some guy who's trying to make a living as a private business, and you're not running for office, you're going to attack that?
Well, I'm trying to find answers to questions like, why is the Las Vegas Metro PD able to employ essentially mercenaries without revealing any details of that business relationship to the people of Las Vegas and the people of America? And I'm trying to ask questions. I mean, I personally feel when an incident like 9/11 happens, or an incident like the October 1st shooting in Las Vegas happens, of course, there are people who are killed, there are people who are injured, and their families, they're the primary victims. But actually, every single person in the United States, and frankly in the world, is a victim of the psychological element of that type of warfare.
Yeah.
Because they are certainly planned to be mass trauma, psychological events to make everybody feel scared, to make everybody feel scared about going to a concert, scared about getting on an airplane, so that we accept this idea of the army in Penn Station,
right,
or getting backscatter or x-rayed before you go onto a plane or into a casino. So I'm trying to find the answers to these things, because the police don't want to tell us, the FBI doesn't want to tell us, and the mainstream media isn't getting to it. And, you know, we're running into some strange resistance there. But I appreciate all of your input and all of your help, both on air and your guidance as a colleague and a friend. And I'm really looking forward to our next show. And with that, Charles, I think I will take us out with a musical interlude.
Very good.